The Center for the Improvement of Human Functioning International presents this luncheon lecture. Today's topic, what are antioxidants and why should I measure them? Your presenter, Ron Hunninghake, MD.
Welcome to everyone on this wonderful fall day. It's great to be here, great to be alive, and hopefully I can give you some information that will help you be even more alive. And so this topic, antioxidants, it's one of those things that you hear a lot about, and in planning my presentation, I thought maybe it might be best if we all started from ground zero here. Let's let go of any assumptions that we might have or what we think we know about antioxidants, because it is a kind of a clumsy word, antioxidants. It's like you're against oxidants or something. But let's think in terms of what really are antioxidants. And so if we can look at this from an everyday experience point of view, let's start out by thinking in terms of freshness. Freshness. What is fresh? And you know, all you have to do is go outside and take a deep breath and you know what fresh air is. A fresh start, how important that can be in any endeavor that we're struggling with. The smell of fresh baked bread. We have that here every day. Fresh ideas. That's really how the center started. It was a fresh idea in the realm of healthcare, or even a refreshing shower in the morning to kind of wake you up, or at the end of the day to kind of wash away the troubles of the day. That feeling of I feel refreshed. It's something that we all kind of know what it is, and really there's a lot of different words in our language that conveys what that feeling's about. To be clean, alive, color. You know, this time of year with all the fall colors, purity and sparkling, something that's sparkling and pure and nourishing, youthfulness, vitality, clarity, energy, healthiness, attractiveness, desirability, and wholesomeness. These are just words, but they all convey what we all intuitively know, but it's kind of hard to put your finger on it. Yet it's something that I think all of us would like to have more of. And in a word, what that is quality. We're all looking for a quality experience, quality feeling, a quality sense of health and well-being. And we're looking for higher levels of quality in the various institutions that we are involved with, whether it's the healthcare system, education, at work, or at play. There's no question that we are moving in the direction of better quality. Freshness equates with higher quality. So I'm going to give you a non-chemical definition of an antioxidant. That which preserves quality and maintains freshness and aliveness. And one of the most simple examples of that is if you cut an apple and you leave it exposed to the air, it will oxidize and turn brown unless you squeeze a little lemon juice on it, and that will maintain the freshness and quality of that particular fruit, at least for a while. So there's a number of antioxidants in nature, and this is the broader definition of the word antioxidants. Obviously, the skin on apples and fruits and vegetables, that's there to prevent oxidation, to prevent the loss of freshness. But open-mindedness and optimism can be a kind of psychological antioxidant that we all use to help us stay fresh and stay alive. Paint keeps our cars from rusting, from oxidizing. Other types of coatings represent antioxidant strategies that we use to maintain the quality of whatever it is that we're painting. Our skin, I was just in New England over the past few days helping my brother-in-law chop down some trees, and I was wielding an axe and I got a big blister, and I can tell you that human skin definitely does work as an antioxidant, and when it's exposed to the air, it hurts. Clothing is a kind of antioxidant. Loving traditions within our family, within our institutions, they're means of maintaining the freshness and the experience of what we want to have in those particular institutions. And in general, by staying flexible and adaptable, we're maintaining a kind of antioxidant quality within our lives. That's taking and stretching the word antioxidant, but I wanted to give you a sense, a flavor of what antioxidants are all about. They're not just vitamin pills. Yes, those do have antioxidant properties, but they come from something. They come from a way of maintaining this hard-to-define something that we all want, which is freshness and quality. Nourishment in general is for that purpose. So to kind of give you the other side of the coin, to kind of tell you what we don't want, who wants stale bread? Who wants spoiled grapes? Oh, Dr. J. Rusted iron, sour milk, rotten food, a stiff garden hose. Of course, if you leave your garden hose out over the winter, oxidation is going to change the chemical composition of it, and it's going to make it crack. It's going to make it less useful. It's going to make it stiff. And in general, oxidation or staleness is when you neglect something and it goes into a kind of decay. It starts to lose some of its flexibility and usefulness. And so by that we can make a kind of general definition of oxidation as a type of decaying of that which we would otherwise hope to preserve. Oxidation is the natural process of decay and loss of quality over time. Quality is used up in the fires of oxidation. Obviously, when you set something on fire, that's a very rapid form of oxidation, but rusting would be like a very slow form of oxidation. Aging would be a slow form of oxidation. So people who are developing age spots, that's a type of oxidation of the melanin in your skin. It's a kind of rusting. Aging itself is a type of oxidation. And we know with aging, we start to feel more stiff. Arteries start to become hard. There's a kind of a rigidity that sets in, and I've always said one of the worst kinds of aging is hardening of the attitudes, and you know people that have that. Not having what you need, being famished or depleted or in a process of dying, degeneration and disease, loss of orderliness, anarchy, pessimism, and cynicism. Obviously, this is taking oxidation and almost thinking of it metaphorically, but yet it's nevertheless true that these processes do occur. They're not what we want. We would rather preserve quality in our lives, but yet we know that it can slip away from us. And so what I'm getting at is that you can think of antioxidants as choices or things that you can do to preserve that which is valuable to you. So what I'm going to now distinguish between is experiential antioxidants and oxidants, and that's what we've been talking about, is thinking of antioxidants and oxidants in a kind of an experiential way. But what I really want to talk about today is molecular antioxidants and oxidants. Now, obviously, that's probably why you're here. You want to hear more about that. But to really get a feel of what these molecular nutrients are doing, you have to understand the broader concept of antioxidant. And so to really make this point, what is the bridge between these two broad topics, between experiential and molecular? Well, it's food. Food is really the key thing. And the longer I'm around, the longer I'm seeing patients, the more I realize how important making good food choices really is. Food is the quality link from your experiential world to your molecular world. You don't think of yourself as eating molecules, but you are. All food was once alive, and to the degree that it maintains that wholesomeness, that aliveness, that freshness, to that degree you are imbibing in molecular antioxidants that, in turn, can enhance the quality of your experiential world as well. Now, obviously, if you don't have any food at all, you're going to die. And you can't get by, you can survive on some food or any food. I mean, our culture really does not lack food. It has to do with the quality of food that's at issue here. Quality food is what helps you actually maintain health. So much of our culture is focused on avoiding what we don't want. And one of the real keys, I think, to transforming the healthcare system, the sickness care system here in the United States, in North America, in the world, is shifting our focus towards what we really do want. And so part of what the message I'm trying to deliver this afternoon is that quality is what we want. And so you've got to choose for quality if you're going to really solve some of these very difficult problems. And so quality food is one way to choose for health. And this is where the whole antioxidant thing starts to come in. When we ask what is quality food, I'm going to put up the same list of characteristics of freshness that I showed you earlier. Quality food is clean, it's alive, it's colorful, it's pure. You want to drink sparkling, clear water. You want the food to be nourishing and youthful to you. Food should give you a sense of vitality and clarity and energy. Obviously, you want to be healthier, more attractive, more desirable. And this wholesomeness, in a word, kind of embodies where we're trying to go with food. Now, within that whole definition, you can get off into a lot of tangents about, well, should I eat vegetarian? What about low carbohydrate? What about raw food? Well, and there may be distinctions that each person has to make within their own personal biochemistry and metabolism. But in general, this is where we want to go. We want to move in the direction of high quality food. It's the type of food that we try to serve here at the center, in the Taste of Health. Okay, now let's take this understanding that I'm developing here in terms of quality, and let's shift down now into a more invisible realm. It's a realm that we really can't see. We can't see what's going on in the molecular world, but that's where antioxidants start to come in. It turns out one of our very best sources of antioxidants in order to maintain the freshness of our molecular cellular life is obviously from quality food, fresh food. Whereas if you're eating stale food or empty calorie food or fast food, very often it's poor in antioxidants. One very famous author suggested that we should all be aiming towards a kind of gourmet whole foods diet. We should take our time and really give a lot of attention to the quality and the freshness and the color and the wholesomeness and vitality of the food that we're eating. And this type of quality food is our primary source of molecular antioxidants. So now I'm going to make a kind of a broad distinction here between endogenous and exogenous antioxidants. Endogenous means it comes from within. It's something that we can generate or create from within ourselves. Exogenous means we have to get it from outside of ourselves. So food, it turns out, is not the only source of antioxidants that we have access to. Obviously, our exogenous antioxidants are going to come basically from food. Endogenous antioxidants are made by specialized cells in our bodies. But even these cells require quality food in order to make the endogenous antioxidants. So ultimately, all molecular antioxidants come from quality food. So I'm going to just spend a little bit, though, talking about these endogenous antioxidants because some people think of antioxidants as just being vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, but it turns out that the whole realm of molecular antioxidants is much broader. And so let's just spend a little time talking about enzymes, hormones, vitamin D, Metallothionein, and what I'm going to call quality health. Now I'm going to just take a moment. I don't have a specific slide on quality health, but when you are healthy, your body is functioning at an optimum level, and it can make adequate amounts of antioxidants. And in many ways, you could say a good immune system which prevents infection. Infection can cause oxidation. If you've got gingivitis, there's a lot of oxidation going on in your gums, and that can spread to your arteries, and that can cause other problems. And so the best health you can be in is one of the best endogenous antioxidants that you can have. But let's shift now to something specific, which maybe some of you have not heard of, but we all have an antioxidant enzyme system within our bodies. And some of these are direct antioxidant enzymes, such as glutathione peroxidase, superoxide dismutase, and catalase. Now, we're not going to have any kind of test. These are big words, but I just want to let you know that your body is constantly working against the number of free radical oxidative hits that your cells take. Dr. Jackson, how many hits a day does each of our cells get? 10,000 free radical hits a day that our body has to neutralize with antioxidants. And a big chunk of that comes from these antioxidant enzymes. Now, what you may notice on this slide is after each enzyme, there's a number of nutrients. Like, for example, glutathione peroxidase, you've got to have 4 selenium molecules to make that enzyme work. Superoxide dismutase, you've got to have some zinc and some copper and some manganese. And catalase requires iron. So once again, the diet is still crucial as a source for making these enzymes work. And these enzymes are themselves proteins. And so if you're not eating good quality protein, you won't be able to make the enzymes as well as you really should. And then one step down, the indirect enzymes, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant enzymes, are just your simple digestive enzymes. We've found here at the center that if you don't digest your food very well, that's the beginning of a whole domino effect of problems that leads to a lot of free radical damage within your body. So it's always good to make sure that you're chewing your food slowly, getting enough liquid with the meal so that you get good digestive enzyme formation. And a lot of that has to do, again, with just your overall optimal health, though you can use enzyme supplements to improve digestion as well. Another area of antioxidants that we don't really think about, but yet they're very powerful, is all the various hormones that our bodies make. It turns out that dehydroepiandrosterone is DHEA is an adrenal hormone that you need to adapt to stress. And one of the greatest sources of oxidation, decay, degeneration in the body is unchecked stress. We all are exposed to stress. How does the body help us cope with it? Well, a good diet is a very important start, but part of what that diet's going to do is help you produce adequate amounts of these adaptive hormones, such as DHEA or cortisol. Cortisol is the major hormone that your adrenal glands make. And in order to make it, you have to have the building blocks. You have to have the cofactors, the enzymes, the various minerals that make the enzymes work properly in order for you to make these hormones the way they really should be made. Estrogen and progesterone, these help your body modulate oxidation. They are antioxidants. That's why they've been shown to help reduce heart disease, reduce your risk of Alzheimer's. They help control inflammation. Testosterone is very important in terms of bone health, heart health, brain health. And of course, growth hormone is a coordinating hormone that makes all of these work. Insulin, it turns out, is also a very important hormone, but it can be a double-edged sword. You absolutely need insulin to help you regulate blood sugar, but if you get too much insulin, you can get into what's called the diseases of insulin resistance, such as prediabetes and diabetes, and that can create a tremendous amount of oxidation. I don't know how many of you have dealt with someone who's diabetic, but they have to go into their doctor and have their blood sugar measured, and one of the new ways of doing that is the hemoglobin A1C. And this is a measurement of glycation, or the stiffening of red blood cells. And guess what causes that stiffening? Oxidation. If you get too much sugar, or if your insulin level is causing your blood sugars to fluctuate too much, either too high or too low, your hemoglobin A1C may start to reflect especially the excessively high levels. And this glycation will cause damage to your eyes, to your kidneys, to your blood vessels. This is decay. This is oxidation, simply because you have your hormone, this particular hormone, and probably other hormones, out of balance. So these are antioxidants just as much as anything else. The real superstar that's come on in the last few years is vitamin D. And guess what? Vitamin D is not a vitamin, right? Because, yes, you can get it in your food, but the definition of a vitamin is something that your body makes. It synthesizes it. Well, I'm sorry, it's something that your body can't make. You have to get it in your diet. Well, vitamin D, if you go out on this bright sunny day, about this time of day, midday, and spend about 15 minutes out in the sun in short-sleeve shirts, you can make about 4,000 to 8,000 units of vitamin D. So a lot of people are saying this is a hormone. And as a hormone, It has all these special functions. It works very powerfully as an antioxidant. There's some very astounding research on vitamin D and the prevention of heart disease, protecting your vascular system from oxidation. It can also regulate inflammation, prevent cancer. Of course, it's important for your bone. It helps your thyroid hormones work better at the cellular level. It modulates those thyroid hormone receptors. It may even help with the insulin receptors so that you have a more level blood sugar as well. And a couple of other areas that we did not think about, but are you more likely to get sick in the winter or the summer? Winter, because you have lower vitamin D levels and your immune system's not working as well. Also, you're more likely to have the seasonal affective disorder, to be down and depressed as a result of maybe not having enough vitamin D. So vitamin D works on so many levels as an antioxidant. Here's a term that probably you have not been familiar with, metallothionein. It turns out it's an endogenous molecule that our body makes that helps us chelate out the bad minerals, the so-called toxic metals from the body. These are the things such as lead, which we know in kids can inhibit learning, mercury, which can affect the brain and the gut and a number of other areas within the body, aluminum can affect the brain. And it turns out that we have our own endogenous chelation system, but it's dependent upon zinc. You've got to have adequate amounts of zinc for metallothionein to work properly. But if you don't have it, if you don't have zinc and your metallothionein is hampered from its optimal functioning, these metals are oxidants. So indirectly, this is an antioxidant strategy that the body has developed over millions of years. ADHD children are often zinc deficient and mercury poisoned. And so one of the things that we do here at the center is measure those levels, and we can help them chelate, give them some additional help with extra zinc if they're low, or help them further chelate out excessive heavy metals. So zinc is often described as an antioxidant, but in reality it functions by virtue of this toxic metal chelation via the metallothionein route. So this is probably an unsuspected form of antioxidants that you didn't know about. So that completes a discussion of the endogenous, the antioxidant systems that you have pretty much built in, but that's, for most people, that's not enough. We really do need to have a strong exogenous antioxidant system as well, and this is where we're going to get into more familiar territory. You've got to have the right vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, herbs, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some superfoods that can help you maintain this freshness of body, this control of the degenerative processes that the body is otherwise prone to with aging. So some of these vitamins should be familiar to you, and I could literally spend an entire lecture talking about them. But the fat-soluble vitamins, I think, are especially important, A, D, E, and K, because your cell membranes are largely composed of fat, just like your brain is largely composed of fat. And there's more and more interest in the cell membrane as being the brain of the cell. And if we don't take care of that fat, and oxidation makes that fat go rancid, those receptors don't work right. And so now we get a dysfunctioning of the entire body. We lose that orchestration that's so necessary to maintain optimal health and freshness of spirit. Coenzyme Q10 is a very powerful fat-soluble antioxidant that I think is in great jeopardy these days because modern medicine is in love with the statin drugs in terms of lowering cholesterol. And that's a good thing to a degree, but the problem is the HMG-CoA enzyme that those drugs block that forms cholesterol, that will dramatically lower your cholesterol, but that's the same enzyme that makes CoQ10 in your body. So if you aren't paying attention to your coenzyme Q10 levels, you may be setting yourself up for some serious problems down the road, some oxidative events. And of course, we mentioned how important D is. E, K, and A, these are all very important fat-soluble nutrients. The water-soluble vitamins are vitamin C and B complex. I'm going to make a special note here about niacin. For the longest time, I really didn't think of the B vitamins as antioxidants, but as time goes on, science is revealing that these B vitamins are very much so important antioxidants. Niacin especially, not only can it lower your cholesterol, but it can help you preserve brain functioning. Dr. Abram Hoffer, who is a dear friend of the center, is 90 years old now and has been taking niacin for 50 years. And you wouldn't know he's 90 because his mind is crisp and sharp. He's got that freshness of thinking that we all want to maintain for as long as possible. Vitamin C, really I could spend all day talking about all the benefits of vitamin C, and yet it's one of the ones that we tend to take for granted. But where do you find vitamin C in nature? You find it where the color is. So if you can move in the direction of color and freshness, that's when you're going to get your best food sources of vitamin C. And there is a nutrient that is both fat and water soluble, alpha-lipoic acid, which makes it a very useful nutrient for people who are trying to boost up their antioxidant reserves. Now back to the minerals. Again, these minerals are really cofactors. They themselves are not directly antioxidants, but if you don't have them, then your endogenous system, antioxidant system, is not going to work properly. So it's important to keep a handle on these minerals as well. And a lot of them, we have no trouble getting sodium in the modern diet, but potassium, which is found mostly in whole foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, and magnesium, which we so easily deplete when we're under stress, these are things that you need to really be mindful of. And especially if you're tired, if you've lost that zing, that energy, it could very well be that your magnesium reserves have been depleted. We used to all drink hard water, and nowadays most water is softened or somehow chemically treated, and the magnesium reserves within water are just not what they used to be. Calcium obviously is very important, but what we're finding is that a lot of what we thought was calcium deficiency was really vitamin D deficiency, which once again points back to how all these things work together. You really can't look at these nutrients separately. You can, but you're going to get a skewed picture because it'd be like trying to determine whether a symphony is good by just listening to one instrument. You've got to really hear the symphonic effect working together. But you can assess individually the members of the orchestra to find out if they're really doing their job. Here are some of the trace minerals: zinc, copper, iron, manganese, and chromium. These have to do with red blood cells and having oxygen transported properly through your body. You have to have adequate amounts of iron. It's important in terms of the immune system. Manganese and chromium have a lot to do with blood sugar regulation. And we've already talked a little bit about how important zinc and copper are to helping your body manage toxic metals. And these toxic metals are the things you don't want, but again, you can't see them. Unless you do some kind of a measurement, you wouldn't know that you were necessarily mercury toxic or lead toxic. You might know you're not feeling good, but you wouldn't know that these enzymes, that these minerals, toxic metals, are binding up your enzymes and preventing the normal functioning of your endogenous antioxidant system, for one. Another thing that we've just recently discovered here at the center through our research department is that these metals inhibit a special type of stem cell called the endothelial progenitor cell, the EPCs, circulate in your blood, and when you have damage to the inner lining of your arteries, which would be the beginning of hardening of the arteries, plaque formation, heart disease, vascular disease, normally if you've got well-functioning EPCs, they will go ahead and make the repair, no problem. But if you've got a burden of these toxic metals, that's going to interfere with the stem cell functioning. It's going to set you up for vascular disease and other problems. Another area of antioxidants that's really fun to talk about and that really makes the point very clearly in terms of how important color is, how important freshness is the phytonutrients. And these are the colorful plant pigments that we find throughout nature that kind of serve as a code that helps us move towards the types of foods that are going to be the best for us as far as preventing oxidative damage. They protect, obviously in nature, they're there for a reason. They protect the plants from excessive UV light, and they also dissuade microbes, insects, and predators from feeding upon those particular plants. Now you can divide these this whole category of phytonutrients into two big categories, the flavonoids and the carotenoids, or the retinoids. And within these two categories, let's look at some of the common antioxidants that you get from your diet, from what you choose to eat. Obviously, tea. If you hold up a glass of tea to the light, it's got a very nice red color. And so color is always your clue that the flavonoids and the carotenoids aren't too far away. And so in this case, catechins and epicatechins turn out to be very powerful cancer fighters. They're antioxidants. They help with a number of conditions by virtue of their antioxidant effect. Wine, especially the dark red wines, are very rich in the proanthocyanidins and the resveratrol. And I'm just naming a couple. I mean, if you really get into this whole phytonutrient delineation, it's a vast number. And plants, their real strength is that they have many different kinds of these phytonutrients in every plant. Chocolate. This is the good news. Chocolate is an excellent source of the epicatechins, and it's got 3 times the amount that's in tea. But what very popular antioxidant did I leave off this list that we're now finding is the #1 source of antioxidants in Americans? Coffee. Coffee is very rich in polyphenols and turns out to be a good source of antioxidants. Now, I wouldn't just say go crazy on coffee, because the caffeine in it will raise your blood sugar. It will cause insulin resistance if you overdo it. So in every case, we're looking for a balance in these. And one of the arguments in favor of measuring these different levels is to help you find the right balance for you. Citrus is a good source of quercetin, hespertin, and limonoids. Limonoids, for example, have been shown to be very powerful anti-cancer, skin cancer compounds. Then there's the carotenoids, and of course most of us know about the red color in tomatoes and ruby red grapefruit and watermelon, lycopene, beta-carotene. Spinach is an excellent source of lutein and zeaxanthine. Did you know that salmon, that kind of pinkish color that salmon has, it's because they're consuming little organisms that are rich in zeaxanthine, and so that coloration goes into the salmon's skin. Then another big important area is the herbs, and really there are hundreds and hundreds of culinary herbs that I could have included on this list. And as a general rule, I'm going to encourage all of you to, when you're fixing your meals and doing your cooking, be generous with your herbs, because they're turning out to be fabulous sources of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents. This first one on the list, turmeric, it turns out that the incidence of Alzheimer's in India is much less than here in the United States, partly because they use so much turmeric and curcumin in their cooking, and they use a lot of other herbs as well, but these have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effects. Ginger is a spectacular little herb that can be beneficial as an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. One book that I had indicated it was a better way to go than the baby aspirin, because it also reduces the clotting tendency that you would otherwise have under stress. Licorice supports your adrenal gland. It's an adaptogen. It's part of just about every Chinese herbal formula. Garlic is a great culinary food and herb that you can use to enhance your immune system, reduce your cholesterol, and cut down on the tendency of the blood to coagulate inappropriately. So herbs were the source of modern medicine, and that's why the word drug itself comes from the word droog, via the French word droge, which means dried plant. And so our whole basis of using external things to help us cope with aging and disease and various stressors, it comes from botanical medicine or herbology. There are some superfoods that I just wanted to mention. Really, any good, fresh, colorful food in my books is a superfood. And we're finding out over time that just our basic foods are our major source of antioxidants. But if you want to kind of enhance what you're getting from your food, there's some special foods that I probably, this is going to be an incomplete list, but I'll give you some of the ones that came up in my search. Barley green and other green foliage powders and foods, you can use that to enhance all the benefits of green foods. Bee pollen and bee propolis, they have very high ORAC scores, which is a measurement of the antioxidant power of food. Many of you may have tried the various juices that are making the rounds with the various multi-level marketing plans. Goji, mangosteen, acai, noni. Really, all of these represent very powerful, deep colorations of phytonutrients that have high ORAC scores, which are very powerful antioxidants. They reduce inflammation. And given the busy American schedule, people like to be able to just pour a little juice in and take that in the morning, and then they're done. But they really are just part of the wonderful palette of food that we have, kind of like a smorgasbord of really good antioxidants that you can use to maintain that quality of life that we talked about earlier. Don't forget berries. It's so easy to get blueberries, cherries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, and work them into your breakfast, work them in as a dessert later on in the day. There's just a lot of ways that you can, I'd almost say a berry a day keeps the doctor away. So colorful beans are surprising just how powerful they are as antioxidants. They actually outdo berries, but they have a side effect that a lot of people don't like. But other than that, if you can tolerate beans, or if you can soak them properly, and you can derive a tremendous amount of antioxidant benefits from colorful beans. So all of these foods just have these super high ORAC scores. ORAC stands for oxygen radical absorbance capacity. It's a standardization of the antioxidant power of these particular foods. And so it's fun to look up the ORAC score of foods. You can do it on Google pretty easily. But in general, I can already tell you the answer. Color will point you in the direction of the higher ORAC scores. The more deeper the color, the higher the ORAC score. Like, for example, propolis, it's very interesting. Bee pollen, the bees go to all the various flowers to gather the pollen. So in a sense, when you eat bee pollen, it's like condensed color, flower power. Same thing with bee propolis. It's very powerful as an antioxidant. If you need extra antioxidant power, that's a good way to go. So some of the functions of these antioxidants, as I mentioned, just in general, if you want to preserve quality health, think antioxidants. Oxidative stress and injury. I'm going to give a slide here in just a minute. There are so many ways that we are attacked by oxidative stress, and certainly injury is a part of the human experience. And so having a good reserve of antioxidants is smart. The mitochondria is the engine of your cells, and it literally burns calories, and that's oxidation. And so the fire of that oxidation has to be controlled and managed, and the body uses antioxidants to keep that fire in check. When cells become damaged beyond repair, the mitochondria, through the P51 gene, just explode, and they release all their enzymes that are causing oxidation into the cell, and that causes the cell to go into apoptosis or cell death. And this is one of the mechanisms that your body uses to actually get rid of damaged cells or cancerous cells. The antioxidants prevent the DNA damage and mutation that sets the stage for cancer. It modulates inflammation. All those berry juices that I talked about, they're very good anti-inflammatory modulators. They help you maintain the health of your membranes. As I mentioned earlier, that's crucial as far as your cells communicating with one another. They have these receptors on the membrane of the cell. That's where the brain of the cell is. And so you want to have good quality fatty acids that make up these membranes, and strong membranes. And in general, what you're going to get from antioxidants is a slowing of the biological effects of aging. So I've put up here a number of things that act as oxidative stressors, and really there's no lack of them in our world. We all are afflicted with exposure to toxic metals, pollutants in the air, water, and food. I did a lecture here a couple months ago on endocrine disruptors, plasticizers, various chemicals and herbicides and whatnot that have worked their way into our water system and into the food supply. Refined carbohydrates, if you overdo that, you're going to get into this insulin resistance, and that's going to cause a lot of oxidative stress. Trans fats are being outlawed now. I heard that California has outlawed trans fats. By the way, whenever the package says 0 trans fats, every package that I've seen that says 0 trans fats, if you turn it over, they all have trans fats in it because of what's called the legal lie. The government has allowed the food companies to put the partially hydrogenated fats in as long as it's less than, what is it, a half a milligram per serving. So whenever you see 0 trans fats, don't eat that food. So read on the ingredients and you'll find out whether or not it has partially hydrogenated fats. Chronic infections can create a lot of oxidative stress. If someone has a chronic sinusitis, gingivitis, smoldering infection, that really puts a lot of stress on your system. Pain is an oxidative stress. People taking too many drugs, polypharmacy can create oxidative stress. And then I've got a whole list here of what I call the deprivation disorders. Not enough sleep, not enough sunlight, not enough whole foods, not enough movement, not enough friendship and love, not enough hope or knowledge. All of these things can raise your levels of oxidative stress indirectly. So this just is making a plea for lifestyle and balanced living as a way of keeping oxidation under check. So I'm trying to make the case here that quality equals value. And whenever we're talking about value, there's always a cost to value ratio. How much am I willing to pay in order to get value? And that's all through our entire lives. We're trying to make this particular decision. And I think the way we make it is that we base our sense of how valuable something is on how much quality we perceive to be in that. So the question that really I bring to this whole lecture, the question of why should I measure antioxidants is, how do I value antioxidants? How do I know which are the best for me? How do I know whether or not I've got what I really need? And this is where scientific testing comes in to help us answer that question. But I want to make a really important distinction here. There's 2 ways to go on this. And unfortunately, the way that we read about the most is what I call exogenous scientific testing. This is where you treat an antioxidant like it was a drug. And you do one nutrient testing at a time looking at one specific outcome. And you run these large control studies of consumers. You try to control for the huge number of variables that these study participants are in, and you don't really even acknowledge the fact that each of the people that were in that have a lot of biochemical individuality, a lot of uniqueness that can impact those particular studies. And when we look at all these variables in nutrient testing, the diet, unless you're doing it in one specific locale, you're going to have cultural influences, regional, family influences, personal habits, genetic factors, lifestyle factors. All of these things will affect the diets of the people that are in this particular study. You won't know necessarily whether they're exercising a little, a moderate amount, or a lot. Some people just go out there and really exercise a lot, and that causes a lot of oxidative stress right there. You may not be taking into consideration the various concurrent diseases that they have. Do they smoke? Are they on a number of drugs? Are they malabsorbing the nutrients that they're taking? Is their stress load unacceptably high? Or is there some kind of research bias that the people who are doing the research are actually bringing to the study? And so this exogenous scientific testing in my books, when it comes to testing nutrients, is not always the most reliable way to help you determine whether those particular nutrients are valuable. And this is one of the reasons why if you read the newspaper, there was a headline not too long ago, vitamin E kills people. And I was thinking, this is just a ridiculous headline. It's very sensational. A lot of people will pick up that paper and read it. But if you read through how that study was done, it was a meta-analysis. It was very poorly constructed. It was just not enough to help people really make a good decision as to whether or not they should take vitamin E, what dose they should take it, what form they should take it. Well, here at the center, we do something that I'm just going to call endogenous nutrient testing, where we test each individual's nutrient levels, and we then compare that to a general population. We can compare it to a strictly food-based program and see how it compares. And what we are looking for is, do more optimal nutrient levels produce a better quality of life and better health? Really, that's the question I think you should be asking yourselves. And in preparing this lecture, I just happened to run across a very recent study that I think is a good nutrient study that illustrates how science is being used appropriately, and I think you'll see how it can help you understand why nutrient testing is beneficial. The name of this study is Serum Vitamin C and Type 2 Diabetes. The investigator was Anne Helen Harding from England, and all she did was measure serum vitamin C levels and the fruit and vegetable intake of a large population of people. And she said that serum vitamin C level is an indicator of fruit and vegetable consumption. So she looked at a very large sample of people, 21,831. Their average age was 58. And they had to be free of type 2 diabetes when the study started. But the study went 12 years. So it was a fairly long study where they kept track of everyone. And during this 12-year period, out of this large group of people, 735 went on to develop diabetes, type 2 diabetes. What they found, those people with the highest levels of serum vitamin C were 62% less likely to develop diabetes than those with the lowest vitamin C levels. And they also looked at that just in terms of the people who were having the highest number of fruit and vegetables intake. And there was a 22% reduction of risk there. So what this study tells me is that, yes, you should be eating your fruits and vegetables, but that maybe fruits and vegetables might not be enough for you depending upon what the unique oxidative stressors you have in your life. And so one of the values of testing is that you can maintain a fairly high serum vitamin C level and thereby reduce your risk of a number of diseases of degeneration. So this, to me, is what's been missing in medical nutrition, individualized personal health evaluations. We need an emphasis on food as medicine. And I think we need nutrient testing to determine the right dose of nutrients to balance each person's unique composition. The proper measurement of antioxidant nutrients in order to inform personalized dosing that corrects underlying imbalances and serves to protect against the manifestation of unwanted and unwarranted disease and illness. That's really kind of a mission statement almost of what the Beat the Odds program is all about, and also what a very special program that has originated in Canada called Orthomolecular Health, and their symbol is the fingerprint because we each have a unique fingerprint. It's a scientifically based approach to healing the body, preventing the onset of illness by balancing substances natural to the body through diet and supplements. I might warn all of you that this website is not operant yet. This is a brand new program. If you're interested, just type in orthomolecularhealth.com. So orthomolecular means the right or the correct molecules, and what's right will differ for every individual. So it originated in Canada. It's dedicated to the advancement of orthomolecular medicine in Canada as a starting place, but it plans to go international. It seeks to raise awareness, to educate the public and health professionals on the benefits and practice of the orthomolecular approach to health. And this is some of their ads. They're just striking. What if this was your blood pressure prescription? What if this was your child's prescription for ADHD? What if this helped you overcome cancer? So here at the Bright Spot for Health, Health, the Center for the Improvement of Human Functioning, we are the largest nonprofit orthomolecular and medical nutrition center in North America. And in cooperation with the BioCenter Lab, we sponsor the Health Hunter Beat the Odds program, where twice a year we offer discounted molecular antioxidant testing to the general public. So this is your chance to take a fresh look at your health, measure key antioxidant levels, identify imbalances, and make the corrections before the disease and the problems can manifest. All you're really doing with this is finding out how you can improve the molecular reserves of your cells and thereby ensure yourself nutritionally against the diseases of chronic inflammation, oxidation, and aging. So why measure your antioxidants? Here's that list again. It's just a way of refreshing your knowledge of yourself, because we don't have a little fuel gauge to tell us whether we've got enough of these nutrients. We have the benefit of a unique laboratory, and Dr. Jackson is here. He's the head of the lab, and for the last 2 years we've been through 2 major CLIA inspections with only one little minor teeny thing that had to be touched up. But otherwise it was, one was completely perfect and the other one was just a small detail. But otherwise it's a top-notch lab where we are committed to excellence. So to finish up here, my definition of an antioxidant is that which creates, sustains, and preserves molecular and cellular health. Do it just for the health of it, and this is for your own orthomolecular health and your well-being and cellular freshness. So with that, I'm going to stop and take any questions that you might have. Thank you. Yes, sir. Here's a microphone.
On your health panel, for health panels here, this first one's antioxidant health. What would that expect from
Antioxidant health is just exactly what we've been talking about. It's going to give you the basic antioxidants, A, C, and E. A, C, and E are the kind of like the foundational antioxidants that we all require, and it's a very inexpensive panel that'll give you kind of a nice starting point to see what your antioxidant reserves are. Now, obviously, there are more antioxidants that can be measured, but for just the average person, I think this is a tremendous way to get started.
Maybe urine C.
And also, we measure urine C.
Does it tell you what you're deficient in, or does it tell you what you're deficient in? Or
yeah. Tonight, I'll be doing a presentation to go over how the program works. And basically, you can think of it like a fuel gauge. Have you run out of gas this year? In your car?
Yeah.
Not the other kind of gas. Most people haven't, because they have a fuel gauge, and they know when they're starting to get low, they make a change in their behavior. And so we use the antioxidant panel as a way of identifying when you're starting to get low reserves, and then depending upon which ones are low, you can either use food or supplements or change of lifestyle as a way of raising those levels into a more optimal range.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If we've given up salt in our diet, how important is iodine?
Well, I think iodine is very important, and if you've given up salt, then you probably ought to be looking for some source, some external source, because most of your sea salts or other types of salt do not have iodine. You can get low sodium salts that may have a little bit of iodine in them, like the potassium chloride. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You spoke briefly of the exercise routines, and although we all know we all need lots of it, as I recall, Dr. Kenneth Cooper said something about he needed a lot more of the antioxidants because exercise was, in fact, an oxidizer.
Bingo. I totally agree with that. And you know, when Kenneth Cooper came out with his aerobic programs, he didn't talk a lot about nutrition to start with, but in recent years, he's had more books on the importance of antioxidants to go along with your aerobic program, because aerobic means utilizing oxygen. And so when you're burning that much oxygen through your body, you are creating free radicals that you need to neutralize with antioxidants. And so someone who's on an oxygen program, or an aggressive exercise program, oxygen program, needs to think about doing antioxidant testing.
And every once in a while we hear you can get too much A, it's a bad thing, or as you said recently, too much E. What's your belief about that?
Well, that's why we think measurement is the intelligent way to answer that question, rather than trying to set limits when we may have individuals who need a lot more, rather than artificially telling them, no, you can only have this much. Measure, and then we can use the guidelines of the lab and what we do know about toxicity to help steer them in the direction of an optimal dose. It may not be, it won't be toxic, it'll be optimal. Fortunately, nutrients have a very wide, safe range, and I think the dangers of nutrients have been over-exaggerated personally, but still the testing program bypasses that issue very easily.
You were talking about flavonoids and chocolate being one of them.
Yeah.
Since we like chocolate.
Yeah.
Is it dark chocolate or any chocolate?
Well, it's, chocolate is by its nature dark. Where it starts to be a problem is we start adding milk chocolate, and milk chocolate usually we add quite a bit of sugar. And so it's the sugar in the milk that for some people causes the problems. Dark chocolate per se, unless you've got some kind of a sensitivity to it, is naturally very rich in these antioxidants. And there are even companies now that are capitalizing on using chocolate as a major source of antioxidants. What a wonderful thing.
How did you say to access that Orthomolecular Health program?
Orthomolecularhealth.com. All one word, orthomolecularhealth.com. We are fortunate to have in our audience Mr. Alan Markin, who is the benefactor that started that program in Canada. And I, for one, am very grateful for his effort at making this well known around the world.
I've just been thinking, I wondered why getting a sample of blood from the circulating blood represents the efficiency and the amounts of nutrients within the cells of the body, because they're two different systems.
Yes, it's a very good question. For one thing, and this has always been the case, blood testing it's easier to do than a tissue biopsy. Would you rather have a tissue biopsy or a blood analysis? It's always a snapshot. We're taking a snapshot because how you are today may be different than how you were last week. And so you have to kind of take this information and thoughtfully make use of it. It's not an absolute form of information. But more and more research now is being geared towards measuring nutrient levels and then comparing that with desired outcomes. And one of the real advantages of the Beat the Odds program is, let's say you have a familial risk for some type of macular degeneration, let's say. And so you measure your selenium level, and we know from our 33 years of experience measuring this that, hey, you're coming in and on the low side. You're in the red zone. And so we can give you some ideas of, Brazil nuts and 200 micrograms of selenium. Let's give it a try. But we don't just leave you hanging there. You come back in so many months and remeasure to see if you've made an improvement in that. And you can also make sure you've not gone into the toxic range, because you can get toxic doses of selenium. So it is a way of helping you to guide your program. It is a type of orthomolecular medicine. Dr. J?
We used to measure white blood cell white blood cell vitamin C levels and other vitamin C levels. White blood cells are a tissue, so that way we had an indirect measurement of that. But we found out over years of doing this that when compared to serum or plasma vitamin C with the WBC things, there wasn't really that much difference. But you can indirectly measure the tissue.
Yeah, and
level.
red blood cells they circulate for what, about 3 months? 2-3 months. And so we're getting a fairly good picture of what's been going on in that period of time. It's not the best, but it's better than no information at all. And we're learning to understand and interpret that information. But it's a good question.
The preceding program was presented by the Center for the Improvement of Human Functioning International in the Bright Spot for Health Lunch and Lecture Series. To inquire about additional health-related information available on DVD, audio CD, VHS, or audio cassette, simply call 316-682-3100 or drop by 3100 North Hillside in Wichita, Kansas. To discover more about the Center and what we have to offer, be sure and visit us on the web at www.brightspot.org.